Okay, so you guys that cover me know we don't do coach speak. So when I say this, I mean this. I thought that their staff and players did a great job. I thought they had them ready to play. I thought we knew they played hard. Very kind of overachieving modeled team that talk from people in the conference how hard they play, and it happens a lot at home. We were hoping maybe they didn't do it as well today, but those guys, had some good plans. I think, you're gonna, as a coach, you break down the game and you say, okay, yards, points, all that stuff, and there's a lot of similarities in the running and throwing of the ball by the teams, but you're gonna look really glaring at fourth downs and turnovers. So they did a great. Both were very aggressive. We were 2 of 7 on the fourth downs. They were 5 of 6. And I thought they had really good plays and some speed option, checking the different things. So I put that on coach, and I thought their fourth down schemes were better than ours, and ours were actually shorter yardage sometimes, and weren't able to move them. And so I give them a lot of credit for how well they coached and how hard they played. And after the fourth down, then turnovers. So do some analytic chart, and you're going to be 99.9% if you don't make 5 fourth downs and you turn over 5 times. That's 10. Now one of those fourth down is a turnover, so that's really 9 times, right? So if I just did the math right, that's 9 times you give them the ball back without kicks going or scores going on. So that's gonna not bode well, and it didn't tonight. I thought we had a little rally there in the second half. I thought Jackson did better. He had a really poor first half that he would tell you, some critical plays and obviously the turnovers, but fourth down with the guy in the flat, and he thought it was a different play and took a shot deep, which killed some momentum there on a 4th and 1. So it's a shame because this would have been a great game to win down here versus a very good team, and go out for these guys that were the last game. So again, credit to them. I thought they did a great job stopping the run for a team that's run the ball extremely well most of the year. For our backs to be 4 yards and 4.6 and Jackson 6.0, that's a really good job for those guys who had actually struggled against the run without their pass rush and defensive end.
Questions? Wayne, did you consider taking Jackson out late? Like he took another shot there when he scored the touchdown on the ensuing drive. Did you consider taking him out?
We did. He said right from as soon as he got up that he was fine. They went and checked him in the tent. He came right back because we were hoping we were going to get the onside kick. So I even went in the tent to ask our training room, and they said he was fine to go. So he kept playing. I thought he kind of played a little bit like we did, tough at times and made some plays, but then some very critical mistakes. And I really don't like the whole fighting part and, guys after the whistle. I really didn't think, we do that very much. I thought we're pretty good at that and work really hard at that. And, I don't know. Got to figure out a better way. I don't know if you get into this world of portal and so many guys last game, and that's kind of hard to manage, and so those guys know they're on the way out. But that was disappointing.
You brought up the 1 of 5 on fourth downs in the first half. There was that fake punt as well. Can you just kind of take us through some of those decisions?
Yeah, I didn't want to do it. Marty wanted to do it, and so I'm just kidding. It was a joke. So we run through those things. They have a look. We got 2 blockers out there for them, and those things are always hit or miss. Not hit or miss schematically, but sometimes you don't have the right scheme. We had enough guys for him and went to make the cut, and the guy made a good play, and he slipped before he got behind him. So it was something that we had worked, all month on with a really good player in D. Wade. And also what goes into those is you cannot predict how games are going. You can just be educated on them. Well, analytics and games would tell you what, or if you talk to coaches in their conference, like, hey, this is going to be a high-scoring game. They got a great offense. We've struggled late in the second half of the season on defense. They have they'd given up a lot of yards, not as many points in red zone, but a lot of yards, kind of like today. So, going in, it was, you're going to have to steal some possessions and stuff probably and take some risk. And actually, that really wasn't, and I'm not backing them, those actually a lot of times didn't go right into points. Sometimes we'd stop them or field goals, and so sometimes it's easier to play on a short field. As crazy as that sounds, against a offense like us that builds on pushing the ball in tempo. So obviously that's not the plan to not make it, but those were critical decisions, and they didn't work out, and didn't get stopped and started early. Getting beat on a 4th and 1, where we don't make the block and the guy hits us in the backfield. So it was discouraging because they had a lot of similar 4th downs. They did a really good job with some really good scheme runs to scheme us up.
Coach, can you talk about when Texas Tech came out on offense for the first play of the game? They came out in air raid. Talk about working with Texas Tech and that moment for college football and just building to honor Mike Leach.
Yeah, that was a cool idea that their coach had. He mentioned it to me yesterday at the luncheon. I thought that was really cool. I joked with him and said we need all the help we can get, so we're not going to decline it. But no, I just think that goes, with Coach Leach, being in different conferences with him, being around the players, coaches, and play. Like, there's not many people that leave places in coaching because sometimes you're fired, sometimes you leave, which he's done both of those, and then the places still wear emblems, the places still honor them. Like, that just shows how he impacted people. And I always said with him, I don't know how he did it. But he always had time for a long conversation with everybody. And I think that shows why people cared so much.
Coach, Bradley Davis, WAPT Sports in Jackson. There was a lot of players on both squads, but here's a little bit more that went down during the game with injuries. If you have a status update on any of your players, and also was there any complaints about the turf or anything with them all going down?
No, and we don't really report on the injuries, but we didn't. Just I know people do that. So again, you don't cover us, but I just tell you how it is. When our guys were injured, that really wasn't benefiting us because they had short fields the whole day because we kept giving them the ball. So when teams do that, I can tell you it's usually because there's long drives going on. Is why they do that. So those are legitimate, and their injuries happening, probably part of having a long layoff. And we talked about it in the last press conference. So the using of the timeout was just very frustrating in the situation. It did not win or lose the game. But just so you guys know, because I like our players to be composed, okay? I'm told on our sideline after that long thing, after the fumble, which we got a lot of good momentum going, so we fumble the ball back. They get the ball, and there's this big fight, and we're yelling at our players, and their coaches are taking their number 11 off the field, screaming at him because he spit on our player. And so the side judge on my side says to me, hey, they're 11, and he actually points that way. Their 11 is going to be ejected. You're 71, fought back, so he's going to get a penalty too. So I'm like, okay. Then all of a sudden they let out our 11. Our 11 is Jordan Watkins, who wasn't in the fight. It was their 11 fighting 71 that everybody knew because their own coaches were yelling at the guy. There was a racial slur involved. That's not the point of what we're talking about the spitting part and the penalty that was said. And so if you look at, I brought our own 71 up to the officials. I said, right or wrong, do you see him crying? He's not crying because he spit on him. He's crying because he got spit on and something was said. So, and it just didn't make any sense. It was really poor to have that many officials that communicate. They all have these wires and they all talk, and they did a great job on some other ones of getting them right. But that's not good. You talk about spitting on people and calling the wrong number 11, who, if you meet Jordan Watkins ain't doing that. Okay, if you know him, and he's the receiver, he ain't in the fight with the defensive lineman. Or the left tackle. So that's why I was so discouraged, because they had still told me he was ejected. So now I'm trying to game plan on the sidelines, yelling at Jordan, getting our subs all right. And Jordan's like, Coach, I swear to God, I did not spit on this guy, nor did I even come close to spitting on him. Here's our other tackle crying, talking about how derogatory it was, what was said, and getting spit on. So that's why I called timeout to try to get him to get it right. Like, you got all these officials, guys, communicate. And he's right, that's a big deal, if you're going to eject. So then they say, well, he's not ejected. So did he spit or not? So now he's not ejected because you're not really sure which 11. So that's why, just so you know, because I tell our players to keep their composure, and I'm going to defend our players when, a kid spit on and then accused to the audience, a national audience, that it's him. So Jordan's, got to deal with this. So that's why that was.
I know this game's still fresh.
And again, that had nothing to do with why we lost the game. That was a personal thing about one of our kids, an amazing kid that, they just totally blew it and wouldn't change it. Just going to sit on it like, my bad. Well, that's a pretty big my bad. Kid's got family.
This game's still fresh, but when will you kind of look back heading into the offseason, or just this whole season, kind of evaluate things and where things might stand for next year?
Yeah, I'm not a jump to conclusions, because you lose a game, but, you guys have been around here. We've won 10 games and made changes. So we will look at everything in our program. I'm sure there'll be some changes made in some areas. Because I think the good thing about our fans, they know about me, this is not acceptable to whatever that makes us 8-5 and finish the season like that. And come down here and do that. So there'll be some changes made, and obviously in the recruiting you got to go right into this thing, because now we got to figure out all these portal guys that are in the portal. We got to make sure our guys aren't getting bought, and we keep our own guys. So there's a lot going on, but staff and administration around the building and stuff, we'll always look at all that stuff.
So back to the scrum we were talking about, was it that a Texas Tech player had a racial slur towards a Ole Miss player in the scrum, and then just clarifying?
Yeah.
So,
I'm not going to, because I did not hear it, say that happened for sure, that he gave a racial slur to our player. I was told that was said in that, but I did not hear that. So that would obviously be a giant issue. But the issue that I do know is the spitting part from other players seeing it and their own coaches. If you actually watch over there, one of them's kind of laughing because he got off, he's screaming at the player. They're losing their mind on him, and all of a sudden, and I talked to the head coach afterwards. He's like, man, crazy officiating out there. I go, yeah. That's really bad on that one, that your guy spit and our guy got the penalty. He's like, yeah, I know. So that's just frustrating me, because it's not a holding. That's calling a guy's name out to tell the national what he did that is wrong, and you got all these officials to get it right. It's a big deal. So,
Coach, what are you talked about some on-the-field changes and stuff, but what are your biggest takeaways kind of just with this group of guys off the field for this entire season now?
I think they did a really good job off the field. I think we don't have a lot of problems off the field. They do well in school and stuff. I don't like the style of penalties today and all the after the whistle stuff. And we've worked hard for years to not be that way. I think we've always done a good job. We do things. There's things we can always do better and don't do well, but I think in this area we've done pretty good. And like Malik has little moments today, and last interview mentioned about Malik and what he's meant and how we've changed him and stuff. So I just really didn't like that. And the targeting thing's so frustrating. The guy sliding. I mean, come on, guys. The first time, bad. Second time, worse. And we've done it throughout the year. So I'm the head coach. It's lack of discipline of decision making.
And then kind of that run that y'all made right out of the second half, y'all get to stop, immediately go score a touchdown. Just kind of how proud were you of that response from the team after such a rough first half?
Yeah, I said at half, I felt like, this is going to be a great comeback. We were going to come back and win this game, and I really believed it. I believed, we had some good matchups of things. I felt our defense was playing better than maybe people would have anticipated with that matchup and making some plays, even without Cedric, which was hard catching that quarterback without him. So I had a feeling we could really do it. It wasn't those, I'm honest with you guys, you're like, oh, we got problems. We got matchup issues. it wasn't that. And so as you saw, we did the 3 and out. We went down and scored, screwed up the extra point. But so I really did feel like we could easily do that because I knew the turnovers in the 4th down were the issues that, and I'm not saying because we would have punt, we would have won. I'm saying maybe we punt or we make the 4th downs and call better plays, you know. So that's why I really thought it was going to be a really cool comeback. And I thought we were built that way to come back because they would have the same problem in 4 minute that we do, you know, slowing the game down. So.
Does decision-making kind of on 4th downs and those kind of plays, 4th and shorts on your own side of the field, does that change in bowl games? Kind of, do you handle it differently than a regular season game at all?
Not really. I mean, it's not like it's preseason. I mean, the game matters. We're trying to win the game. That was really a pre-game decision of, okay, when we have these, the analytics support, I mean, we read the books, you know, like I know when it doesn't work, everybody says they're stupid books, you know. So Jimbo will be happy today, you know, the book didn't work. But when you play these matchups versus, let's say we're a defense-built team versus another defensive team, you're going to punt in almost all of those. So that's why that, you know, that was made before the game, that, you know, we got to be aggressive. And then we started to play a little better defense, and there was something in the second half where there was a fake in the second half that we didn't do that, you know, we had lined up to do because I felt like, okay, now we were playing a little better.
Coach, you just mentioned the defense. They come up big in a lot of positions, you know, also getting 3 turnovers and really seemed like they gave your team a chance to kind of come back in the second half. But can you just speak a little bit more into what you saw from that unit throughout the game?
Yeah, they did some good things playing on a short field. You know, not exactly, but some Baylor type feel, you know, of the Sugar Bowl where we're screwing around on offense and them keeping us in it. So I was proud of, you know, like I say, this generation of like recruiting guys to stay to play a game. You know, Miles Battle's already taken visits. I've talked to the coaches, you know, the schools he's going to go to. And here he is making plays for us in the game, making some critical plays. So I was proud of him. You know, proud of some guys that were in those situations. Even Luke, his play didn't work, but you know, those were some guys that were going to actually go out. You know, they went in the portal and they weren't going to play and decided to play. So even though it didn't work out with the wins, I think those are things those guys won't regret.
We have one more. I know, again, the season just ended, but what is the next step for this program?
I mean, we just go to work. There's a million things to do. You know, you got, because remember your signing days, like they're every day because of portal, you know, and so every day you're going to see people go in the portal, sign places. I mean, I just had a player in our portal just on the way out tell me he's going to go take himself out of the portal and stay. So it's just different than it used to be where I could tell you, hey, we have this many days till the next signing day, because no one really even signs on that day anymore. So it's just a new era. I can't really tell you what exactly it is, except for go try to build the roster best we can, look at the coaching, the recruiting, the administrative parts of our building, whatever we're doing, just look at all of it like we have before. Like I said, we went 10-2 and made some changes. So and we got to always look at everything to make the program the best. We don't ever say, well, that guy's okay. We don't do that in coaching. We don't do that in playing. So we're always looking in the portal to find better players.
All right, thanks, Coach. We'll have play